Though the Fire Pro Wrestling series has been a staple for knowledgeable wrestling video game fans for years, this longtime aficionado of both forms of entertainment didn't get the chance to enjoy the three-quarter style action until 2001, when Fire Pro Wrestling was released on Nintendo's Game Boy Advance. The experience changed my view of what could make a pro wrestling video game great, as the focus wasn't just on the absurd stories or characters, but the combat, featuring tons of customizable options, be it wrestlers or even the ring itself. The first North American console Fire Pro Wrestling release, Fire Pro Wrestling Returns, became my go-to wrestling game from the time it was available for purchase until this very day, thanks to it being released on the PlayStation Network. Knowing what I was getting myself into from a gameplay perspective when it comes to Fire Pro Wrestling World, I felt more intrigued about the new additional modes, online competition, and just how realistic it would feel having a match between the ace of New Japan and the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. Like so many pro wrestling video games, the basis of completion can come in various forms, finishing the available modes, taking the action online, and even completing all the trophies and achievements. This iteration of Fire Pro not only has the action synonymous with the series and copious creation options, but also a new Fighting Road mode, where the player takes a created wrestler up the ranks of New Japan Pro Wrestling in hopes of achieving the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. The visual novel-esque mode, featuring appearances by actual New Japan stars, is lengthy to state the least, and will take many more hours for yours truly to complete, even after sinking in over a dozen hours thus far. There are also online options a person can take part in, but it's not a necessity, thankfully. For completionists, finishing Fighting Road mode and gaining all the trophies available with only a couple of grind-heavy achievements are the best way to say one has completed Fire Pro World. Fans of the Fire Pro Wrestling series have witnessed a franchise featuring one of the most acclaimed engines seen in the wrestling video game genre be improved upon until it reached its potential in delivering the best action possible. Fire Pro Wrestling World doesn't change the bell-to-bell formula that has become synonymous with the franchise, for good reason, as the action is still unbelievable in execution compared to its competitors. The Fire Pro grappling system is built not on button mashing, but timing. When two wrestlers lock up, the person who taps one of the face buttons with or without the directional pad at the right time will pull off the move first. Go too fast, and the player's moves will easily be reversed. Go too slow, and a wrestler will be on the receiving end of a lot of punishment. The gameplay's most interesting aspect is the necessity of building up one's offensive strike. Each wrestler has light, medium, and strong grapple attacks, with the latter being the wrestler's biggest moves and finishers. If the player tries to pull off big moves too early, the opponent will be able to avoid and counter whatever is attempted. Slow and steady wins the match as the drama builds. Simple forearms to the jaw turn into power bombs and Rainmaker lariats. With a great crowd reaction system to complement the action, near falls and shocking endings are the norm. But the Fire Pro games have also expanded upon its mode offerings. While there aren't any TLC or Hell in a Cell-like matches, players can take part in barbed wire death matches, steel cage fiascos, and even MMA fights. Intergender bouts are also an option, as are multi-person and tag team matches. Weapons can be involved in those no disqualification encounters, and like the strikes, due to the way the camera and ring is angled, can be a little tough to actually land a proper shot. Players can wrestle for titles both real and created, hold tournaments and leagues, and have their own Royal Rumble. With a rather small roster out of the box, though the additions of actual New Japan stars does soften the blow of not having more generic wrestlers obviously based off real-life grapplers. Fire Pro Wrestling World relies on the imagination of its players to really have those dream bouts. The depth of Worlds' creation system is almost unimaginable, thanks to the amount of options available to the player, including the body morphing style recent WWE games have been utilizing that Fire Pro perfected years ago. Thanks to how great the creation system is, players around the world can upload fantastic created wrestlers and logos, so those who don't have the skills and or time to make a legendary roster spanning nearly a half a century across dozens of promotions and beyond can do so with little effort. Players can also make their own rings, belts, and even referees. Everything fans of the series have gotten used to in regards to making whatever comes to their minds is still an option in Fire Pro World. Beyond the aforementioned Fighting Road mode, where a player looks to make their created wrestler a world champion, Fire Pro Wrestling World offers a mission mode that proves to be both the tutorial and a challenge mode. There are also modes attached to the $50 season pass, or the game's deluxe edition, including the series' version of General Manager mode, and a new story scenario, though neither has a release date set at this time. Easily the biggest addition to the franchise comes with Fire Pro World: online competition. Sadly, the online action in World is disappointing at best and unplayable at worst. With this being something of a niche title, finding an opponent or opponents will take 5 to 10 minutes at the least. When the bell sounds, there's a good chance someone will lose connection, quit if things aren't going their way, and even when people are on the up and up, the game can lag out at any moment, no matter the quality of the connections involved. When it comes to a game based around precise timing, lag is detrimental and will most likely cause losses aplenty, as well as players opting to avoid the entire online experience. Everything that was great about the previous Fire Pro Wrestling games, the action and creation options, is here in its finest forms. But for gamers who were solely looking forward to playing with other diehard or even rookie Fire Pro Wrestling fans from around the globe, will be sorely disappointed. As expected, everything that is great about the series returns here in the best fashion possible. The in-ring action never dulls, even if a person doesn't feel like playing and just wants to watch. The creation options are ridiculous, made even better by the ability to download thousands of wrestlers crafted by diligent creators. Fighting Road mode is a nice addition to keep things fresh, rather than just playing exhibition matches over and over again. But the time investment may be too much for some. Easily the weakest part of World is its online capabilities being incredibly unstable. This is a must-buy for a wrestling video game fan, no matter the experience level, as long as you don't care about playing online. Definitively, this is one of the best games in the franchise that could become the greatest of all time if it gets the continuous support its early access version did for the past year.